Welcome to All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. You can download our podcast on all platforms every Friday. Clinched is a sports app that helps link clubs with coaches. If you were a coach in rugby, soccer or GAA and you are ready for your next role or your first role, download and sign up to Clinched app for free today.
And Leinster looking to counter here. Seán O'Brien, well, if there's one player who can take a hit from Courtney Lawes and stand and see it off and bounce off.
Raised thanks to the accurate free-taking of John Doyle. 2 points between the teams.
Football is hurling, and maybe in that moment should have slipped maybe Kerry to go have a conversation and say, I want to make that decision, but it ultimately comes down to them.
Hello, and you're very welcome back to episode 17 of All About the Game podcast. We're joined today by Johnny Dial, and we've Seán O'Brien back with us. Seán, good to see you. How was the body? You're still in one piece anyway.
I've been kicking, lads. Just about.
We were concerned there about you.
I was concerned about myself, so I was.
Podge was that concerned he took 2 weeks off.
Yeah. couldn't go on without him.
Body's good now. New hip and feeling okay, but been through the wars the last month with it, but getting on the right side of it now hopefully, and but it's
hasn't been easy.
Hasn't been simple, no.
Yeah, it's funny, I was only thinking about it today when you're back, like, I think when you retire maybe that's it now, give the body a chance, but like, I suppose a bit of wear and tear over the years and kind of niggles that just don't go away.
No, they don't go away, no. And this, my left hip, so I had the right hip done 5 years ago, but the left hip was getting worse and worse there the last year or two, so I didn't want it to get to the stage where the other one was, where I was constantly in pain and not sleeping and stuff. So I said I'd get it done, but everything went well. But I got a skin infection then afterwards, not in the joint, thankfully, or not in the scar site, but just all over the rest of my body, basically from a monitor that they use to find blood vessels. They just left it on my back during the op, and the outside of it has a bit of adhesive on it, and it actually burnt me. And then the same thing they catch all your blood now during the op over in London now. So in case you need a blood transfusion, they actually catch all your own blood from the op and they wash it. And if you need it, they put it back into you. But the thing they use is like a big massive bib that comes up between your legs and it sticks to your back and it sticks to your chest. And the sticky stuff on that as well reacted to my skin, so it bubbled it all up. So we didn't know this. I knew I was allergic to glue. A bandage that they use sometimes to seal a wound, because when I had my hamstring repaired years ago, I got an awful reaction to that. So we knew they didn't use glue on any of the bandages or anything, but it's actually adhesive now that we're kind of figuring out that I just can't tolerate any type of sticky adhesive. So that was the reaction, and we're still battling at the minute. But anyway, yeah.
Just thinking there, like in terms of, and I don't know whether it be Leinster or Ireland, like, or say when you retire from rugby, like obviously there's loads of lads that probably have knocks after, like is it kind of, is it more look after yourself, or is there a kind of something in place for players that, whether it be Connacht, Leinster, Ireland, or is it like a general thing in rugby that 10 years or 5 or 10 years later you need a hip operation or there's something wrong? There is kind of help, I suppose, or support out there?
There is, yeah. When you finish playing rugby, there's a sign out medical, and it doesn't matter if you have, let's say, for instance, just your cauliflower ears. You can get them done under that. You can get anything that's affecting you. If you have a sore back, or you have whatever it may be, let's say you have a plate in your arm and it's giving you a bit of trouble, you can get that out like when you finish playing and stuff like that. So everything has to be put into your sign out medical. But with my hips were a thing that have been, my right hip was an issue that I had since I was probably 18. So they don't cover that because it can be genetic and it can be degenerative over a period of time.
Right.
So my ball and my hip was too big for the socket, and wasn't sitting in it right over the years. And then add sport to it and everything else, just gets worse and worse. So
is there something that was already there?
Yeah, they probably wouldn't have been. My left hip, my other hip wouldn't have been covered.
Right.
On my sign up medical, so it wouldn't have been, because it wasn't giving me any trouble at the time.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's just a thing over the years. So, but no, you're very well looked after, and you're signing up medical. If there's anything you need, it'll be done for you.
Yeah, once you kind of mark it down there.
Once it's marked there and then, yeah, because that's, I suppose they are trying to look after lads as best they can. Obviously, you're after putting your body through the mill, so whatever needs to be fixed can be fixed. Like, it can be, do you know the way lads have tendons in their fingers and bits and pieces as well, and big crooked hands, and stuff. That all can be fixed under a sign-out medical.
Would that be your sign-out? Would that be done with a full body scan and everything will be
the whole works? Yeah, the whole works every
and
single
rightly
day.
so.
Yeah,
do you know, because there might be no legacy till down the line. Like,
exactly. Yeah,
you know,
and you could have an ongoing thing. Like, sure, there's some lads there. Like, what I would have said, like that. I touch wood now. To be honest, my shoulders are great, even though I've had them done a few times. But someone you could have a bit of numbness, or you could mightn't have much power in the shoulder or something, for, you know what I mean, or it could be arthritis might set in it or something like that, and sure, that's all covered as long as it's in the sign-out medical. You're covered, you know.
Yeah, rightly so.
Yeah, it's probably something that the GPA would it be.
GPA would be very good that way. Like, you know, they're definitely there. There's a past players. I don't know what the word you're looking for, but there's something there for past players that they do look after. There's a benevolent fund, if want for a better word, and and even, you know, and like that, if a past player was maybe in a difficult spot in their life, they're really good, really good to look after them. But I suppose that's what we can't be speaking out both sides. Or now we talk about the GA's family and you're part of something bigger than yourself, and then when you're maybe under pressure, we can't just ignore you, you know. So and some of these issues can be, you know, as I said, the same as yourself, Seán, can be there over a long period, wear and tear, that they don't come to the surface like till later down the line. And
I was very surprised that when I was getting my first operation done, how many GA lads from Ireland were in his London clinic. He's actually starting a clinic over here now soon.
Right,
that's
that many going over.
Yeah, because there's that many going over now. There was an awful amount of Donegal lads at the time. It was when they won the first All Ireland. But I mean, like, lads 19, 20 from Lode, like, they were getting the hip resurfacings, not the stainless steel ball and socket that I would have had. They were just getting, like, proper shaved and reshaped and everything. But I was speaking to Professor Griffin about it. Like, he said, like, some of them are in an awful state, like, there's no labour left. And that's the running capacity, I suppose, of GA footballers. Like, they're just
there's probably a bit. Well, there is a lot more science around it now, and like you can be going and dogging lads, but you're actually not getting anything from it. Only maybe causing long term damage. You think you're training, you are training hard, but you know, we're training smart now, and I think that is important, and the science side is more and more brought into the GAA, which, you know, we wouldn't have seen it. That's probably the same at rugby as well.
It is, yeah. Because I would see the sub academy now, lads, the lads who are 17 even now with us, they're lads that are, when you go down and watch a gym session, you see them doing their prehab and rehab, and you see them doing all their let's say extension stuff with their hips and like range with everything, shoulders, the works. We would have done none of that when we were in there, like none of it. So it's just moved on to such a good level, and that's why I think you look at even some of the lads now who would be, let's say, Josh van der Fleer and Caelan Doris, when they were in the academy, even though it was like 4 years, let's say, past when I was in, or 5 years, it had started then, and they're in way better shape functionally. Their movements, like, where we would have been probably, right, go on and, like, these are the lifts we're doing, but, like, lift heavy, but the rehab and prehab side of it wasn't really as big as emphasis as is now, like. So the younger lads all the time now, they're actually getting stronger and stronger. Like, there was a good few of us at the time had hip shaves when we were 19 or 20. You wouldn't even hear of a hip shave now, because it's all, if you're doing your proper prehab, you'll never have an issue. So it's moved on so much, and I'd say, Johnny, exactly what you're saying there, that like everything, all sport has moved on, soccer, football, you know.
Yeah, even I don't know where I read an article, and I can't even remember who it was speaking about. I don't know if it was Tomás O'Shea, but talking about David Clifford. I don't know if it was Tomás O'Shea, but about he's kind of changed his shape this year in terms of his physique. Like, and you think, sure, he was always like, David Clifford is, I think, he's like probably the best player over the last 5 years. Like, but there was 2 pictures of him then that, as you say, science and different things, like you'd say he's the ultimate, but they can kind of get it down to such fine margins now and tweak in different ways to maybe say, maybe you don't need to worry about your bulk as much, and if I would worry about your pace or worry about whatever needs be. But it is, and looking at the games over the weekend, even in the GAA, like they're at professional level. Like you, Seán, you played professional sport for whatever 10, 15 years. Like I'm sure watching the GAA, you probably nearly go, Jesus, these lads. Like
we wouldn't hold a candle to some of those lads.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't, running wise and the way they're able to move and stuff. No, it's a prayer of it, lads.
But
and the intensity of those games, like, is ridiculous. It's non-stop, like. Rugby's, it's just completely different type of fitness.
It's a different game. You don't
Stop,
need
start,
you don't need to be.
No, you don't need to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, there's not. I wouldn't say there's many footballers, and we might have touched on this before on a different episode, but I wouldn't say there's many footballers even at 90 kilos now, of the biggest lads out there.
Yeah,
like I wouldn't say there is. I'd say like even like so Clifford, even though he's 6'4", is he?
Yeah, 6'4".
So like, is he around that? Probably
around
he's a
that.
big man.
Yeah.
Like he is a big man.
Yeah.
But like you look at cornerbacks, fullbacks nowadays. Like there's not like a Francie Bellew out there now anymore.
No.
No.
Who's a big, strong, hardy hooer, but like wouldn't have out and out pace. Like
no.
Yeah, and it's
all gone faster, fitter. Isn't it?
And sure, you look at some of the Roarty there, the cornerback for Donegal. He's only 19. He's like, don't get me, he's not a small lad, but it's all about getting cover the ground.
Yeah.
Got to run and he's not bulked up to the last either. And I suppose with the new rules, that's probably going to come. There's less maybe of an emphasis on being. Yes, you have to be strong. Don't get me wrong, to a point, but it's not about having huge power. It's more power to cover the ground
and probably even with the rules, new rules, it's probably come more into play, I suppose. And it depends on the team, as you say. You're watching Donegal and they're such a counter-attacking team, and they turn it over, 5 or 6 lads gone, and just I don't know, watching the game, like one of them run the length of the pitch, turn around, jogging back, not jogging back, but like getting back like it was no problem. Like it's unbelievable the fitness and the levels that are getting to. But I suppose it's like that in sports science is changing all the time. There's probably different things every year been introduced, and you see, I suppose, lads getting to different levels. But
I'd love to see I'd love to see if some of the I know it's hard to compare, but like Kieran Whelan there, and even like Dermot Early and stuff. What way would it be nowadays in the game?
Yeah,
Early now is a bit different. He was athletic, like.
Yeah. But I think it's like, you look back, even back before that, you go back to some of the the Jimmy Keaveneys and these boys back in the Dublin team, and Tim Kennelly was a huge, big, powerful man at centre half back. But I think they just trained to the train levels that was expected of them at the time. I think if they came in, the ambition they have, the determination, the want to get better, I think they'd adapt to the surroundings around.
They're in that environment now.
Yeah, exactly. And travelling the road that's there now,
Yeah.
I think
they're all athletic men, aren't they?
When you first started with Kildare, was Ronnie Jim? No.
It was a Jim Murphy playing cornerback.
Jimmy.
There was no collective. No, there was no collective gym at all. And you would have had a few lads would have done a bit of gym work,
It was kind of the new thing, and lads were tipping away.
Well, I'd say they were tipping. There was no emphasis on it. I know lads would have been, like Ronan Quinn would have been a big man for the gym. Martin Lynch would have, even though I suppose Martin he'd done before, he used to get so much hardship. He had to start looking after himself. Do you know what I mean? And he got very strong. He wouldn't have looked. But I've seen Martin in club games, and lads would be trying to test him, and he'd leave them in a heap. Unbelievably strong upper body, but would have done. There was certain that, but there was no gym. And then even when Mick, after Mick Porrick Nolan came in, and we would have done a little bit of testing, and you were given a bit of a program, but there you are away with your lads. Well, some lads did it and some lads didn't. You know what I mean? So it was only really when Kieran came in that we really, Johnny Crofton would have done a bit, but again, there's your program, lads, away with you, and do it in your own time. But when Kieran came in and we had that gym in the K Club, Julie Davis would have been the strength and conditioning coach, and she was there all the time. As you know, Podge, you were expected to go in and go through your program, and she'd keep an eye on you and everything. And you could see they just everyone had to be there. Everyone bought into it.
It's probably like back then. Then it's like with club now. I'd say when you're going in as a club manager, they might say, "Oh, who's your strength and conditioning?" And you do it for the first few weeks. But at a club, you can't say, not saying you can't say, but you can't say 4 or 5 nights a week there and match the weekend. Jeez, you'd have no players left. Wives, it's there has to be an element of enjoyment on your Tuesday and Thursday and other things to do. But so it's kind of like you have a gym program in place for lads. There it is. But as you say, it's probably like that before, but now it's gone to that level. But I don't think it's like, it's gone too far, because I think players want it. Like they want the best. If you asked any of the Kildare players now, like you want that facility there for you, and to be the best you can be. Like.
But sure, if you went into a club with, some club settings and said, listen, try and choose in Thursday and Seas for the match, they'd get rid of you. Like the players get rid of you.
Yeah,
they expect.
I was just going to say,
a lot of them expect the highest standard, but struggle to get to the highest standard themselves, because as you know, Podge, you'll have I'm feeling a bit stiff today. I'm feeling, I'm cotton working, and these are all, things you're facing with, so you can want what you want, and sometimes it's just a box ticking next. I put all these in place, but you've got to come up to the standard now, lads, and that's where lads struggle. But anyway, that's a debate for around the pint.
In the gym.
In the gym.
Yeah, and I suppose speaking of football and obviously we Tom Tom O'Connell with us last week, unofficial Kildare, and talking about the Kildare game and the importance, I suppose, of winning the Tailteann Cup, and it was great to see them get the job done at the weekend. It was exciting. It looked kind of like maybe they might run away with it early, kind of in the first half and halfway through it. But in fairness, Limerick, they showed they were a decent side. They're probably not a team that I wouldn't know a lot about, or general wouldn't be on TV, but it was a good game, and it went right down to the hooter at the end.
Yeah, it did. And look at it, as we spoke last week, it was a big game for Kildare. The prize was huge that we all knew about, and we just wanted to get over the line, and that's exactly what they did. Human nature being human nature, straight away when you get the win, then you're looking for performance. And as you said, I think we went 6, maybe 7 points up at one stage, and you think, okay, they'll kick on here now. But look, it's a final. Limerick were in the final because they're a good team, and they earned the right to be there, the same as Kildare. And sometimes it can annoy you at times, where lads say, sure, we should be beating Limerick, and you're there, okay, give me 3 reasons why we should be beating them. And like
the expectancy part of
it. Like sort of like there's, now you can argue, well, hurling is the number 1 sport in Limerick, and maybe they would, and that's a fair point, but like you have 35, 36 lads down in Limerick training every bit as hard, going through all they've the same medical assistance to keep themselves right, they've the access to the same strength and conditioning, the same weight training program, the same medical, so it's always going to be a bit tight. Do you know what I mean? Now, like for me it's about making sure that you're the best you can be, and I say at times a good few times we saw Kildare really do some brilliant things, and then at times the basics let us down, give away a ball, silly, and next thing you're on the back foot. But look, it's a big thing for them young lads in particular, to get a bit of silverware. And look, we haven't picked up a cup in Croke Park for a good number of years, so it was a positive day all around.
I definitely thought this year, and Johnny, obviously you were involved, say the previous year with the Tailteann Cup, and I think, am I right in saying last year was Kildare's first year in the Tailteann Cup? I think last year, like, there was a lot of negativity in terms of when Kildare got bet in Leinster, and I can't even remember who won, but I just remember at the time people going, jeez, we Tailteann Cup. Do you know, I was like, we shouldn't be here. Jeez, things are so bad, we're in the Tailteann Cup. And even though I'd say, like, outside media feeds through to players and stuff like that, and I'm sure players are kind of going, Tailteann Cup, where this year, like, it's where Kildare, not say it's where Kildare at, they went and won it, but there was a lot more seemed to be kind of like emphasis when Loud won, like it wasn't like dreary kind of outside, you weren't on Twitter, people giving out, Josh, we're in the Tailteann Cup, this is a disaster. There seemed to be a bit more positivity from the outside, and absolutely, it does probably, and even from a player's point of view, the Tailteann Cup was a new thing, and it's definitely a good trophy, where maybe I remember going back previous years, there was the Tommy Murphy and things that kind of failed, and there wasn't much about them. Where I'd say the players might have had more of an acceptance as well that, right, last year we probably thought at a Tailteann Cup, sure, is, you know,
I think everybody embraced, well, particularly in Kildare anyway, embraced it a bit more. You're right, there was a sort of a little bit of a hangovers, you know, and again, at times it can annoy you that say, oh, you know, oh, Kildare shouldn't be in it. Like, you're there.
That's the reality, though, isn't it?
That's it. We weren't there because they pulled their name out of a hat.
Exactly.
We're there because that's the level we're.
That's the level you're at. Yeah.
And if you're good enough to get out of it, you're performing at a higher level. Yeah. And that's going to be the challenge now for those young lads and Brian and his management team is it's a huge step up again. Look, you just looked at the 2 games Saturday, and you could see the difference in intensity, you know, your time on the ball, the tackling. It was another level, and automatically you will rise to that level, you know, and because you're going to be playing Division 2, but it's a big task now for Kildare, and they've put themselves back in that position, and that's the brilliant thing about it. And automatically they're going to have to find a couple of players, you know, certain players maybe coming towards the end, they mightn't be using the same role as they were this year or the previous few years, and that's the challenge now and it's the challenge for players to, you know, to hang in there. Maybe felt that they were, you know, a little bit off, or they weren't getting, you know, their chance to perform. But that staying power now is to just keep the head down and keep working and keep knocking at the door. But it was a positive weekend. There's no doubt it was positive, and it was great to see Kevin Feely climb the steps and pick up a cup, because it's not something we see too often. So
no, definitely.
You should nearly be looking at it as, right, this is step 1 now of the rebuild, like
100%.
You know what I mean? Because that's, I would say as well, even, and just relating it back to rugby, is where you think, okay, Champions Cup for us is the dog's bollocks, like. But the reality is, when you're not at that level, or you're not getting over the line, well, what level are you? And this year, obviously, we got over the line in the URC, but it's very like Kildare. It's a massive thing for the club to actually, right, that box is ticked now, let's build again and start, you know. Maybe we didn't put enough emphasis on, let's say, the URC or the Tailteann Cup over the last few years. But when you actually break it down, that is your level, and that's it, and you need to go after it. But that's the standard now.
Prove, exactly. You prove you're good enough for it by going and winning it, and putting yourself.
But it is. I think it is a refocusing job, and that's the key. Like, if you look when the back door came in, we went from when it came in 01, I think, to whenever Kieran McGeeney came in. The stats from what we won in that time in the back door was like ridiculously bad, like embarrassingly bad. We might have won 3 or 4 over that period of whatever 6-7 years. And then I remember, you know, sitting down there, we've got it. We embrace so the league is the first competition. We don't worry about anything else. Then we're in the Leinster Championship. We're going to go hard to give the Leinster. And in previous times it was you're going out Leinster's back door. Where we were beaten in Leinster, actually we were beaten by Wicklow in 08, and it was all back into Hawkfield, right? Discussed, that's gone now, that competition is over, let's get ready to be the best we can be. And then we ended up that year in a quarter final because everybody just changed their mindset that day. Now, and there wasn't maybe as much outside noise, or, you know, you didn't have your Facebooks and Twitter and all that sort of stuff. But
you build momentum that way through, and as you say, you approach it in the right way. But
that's what players and managers have to do, is just say, listen, let's embrace this. It is what it is. We are where we are, as you say, Seán, and we just got to be the best we can be in this competition, and that takes a mindset.
That's what it is.
No, definitely. No, it was great, and I think they celebrated for a good few days, but they're right as well. Like, as you say, it's probably 12 years maybe, I think, was since a bit of silverware was won with the footballers. So no, it was brilliant, and you have to go and celebrate it and make the most of it and enjoy it when you do get the success too. And no, I know I've hopefully keep driving on. I suppose we've seen it with Meath and Down probably in the championship this year. Pushed on Westmeath maybe not so much, so it's not a given. It's not a given that it happens, but you know, they definitely have the players.
And it's funny, you know, you're hearing that a lot. Oh, look at the way Meath have kicked on, look at the way Down have kicked on. Yeah, but it can go It can go the other
Go
way.
right,
And
go
you have to
many
make
different ways.
sure that when they're talking about that, look the way Kildare kicked on. That
Yeah.
that's the challenge.
No, exactly. But no, very positive. And I suppose just quickly on the 2 All-Ireland semi-finals, probably, maybe a lot of people were tipping Kerry and Donegal, but Kerry kind of done it comfortably enough in the end, and from what I remember of watching it on Saturday evening in Budapest.
So you didn't see it at all.
Over a bottle of drawer.
You were looking at it, but you didn't see it.
So see the scoreline. But yeah, and Donegal showed, Jesus, they were incredible, especially in the second half against Meath. It's the makings of a very good All-Ireland final. I think the 2 best teams in Ireland are there. But yeah, Clifford on fire again. Michael Murphy, they could nearly afford to mind him with 20-25 minutes to go. Even though I thought he still looked a little bit bemused coming off.
They minded a few lads, to be fair. They pulled a few of them off.
Yeah.
Ryan McHugh as well. And I don't know, they're so fit. Donegal.
Yeah, they're
They're ridiculously fit. But I still think Kerry there's something very different about them at the minute. With football and wise. If they can keep Clifford quiet, they'll be doing very well. They have a great chance to do that.
Yeah, I think you generally just have to accept that he's going to. It's limit what he can do, I know, but like he's just an unbelievable form. I think he's the best.
Michael
ever,
Fitzsimons, I don't know if I ever told you that before, but before the All-Ireland, was it 4 years ago? Kerry in Dublin, was it?
Yeah,
Dublin beat them.
So. Yeah,
Well, he met
real wet day.
Daniel was telling me, Daniel Davey was involved at the time, and he met his club coach on the Wednesday, whoever that was. Now, sorry, I'm probably going down a rabbit hole here, but he met his club coach on the Wednesday and spent an hour and 45 with him on the field. And his club coach literally had every bit of analysis done, video. Right, let's go on the field here now. I'll show you where he comes on Clifford and where to keep him when he's on his left foot, when he's on his right foot, when he's taking a solo in front of you, what to do with him. And I remember after the game, actually looking back on it, and I was saying to myself, the fucker, like what an unbelievable. He played I think he's man of the match.
Yeah, I wasn't. I backed him to be man of the match.
Oh, was he not?
And I thought I had a good chance after.
Well,
but he didn't. But he was. Yeah, he was. There was 3 nominations, and Fitzsimons was one of them.
That'll be like, obviously McGuinness. Everyone's talking about his brain, like, and how he's so good at creating plans and all that kind of stuff. It'll be interesting to see how they actually deal with him now. Like,
yeah. But as you said, they're so fit and they're so, like, Donegal, Jim McGuinness just seems to be, like, I was even looking at something, they nearly he introduced the kind of everyone behind the ball, and they went to change the rules nearly, because it was like everyone started following that. But while people might have thought, he's coming back in now, new rules, he can't play the way he was used to, but
he's evolved.
And he's considered, I suppose, the tactician and gets a lot right. It'd be very interesting. And look, there is, with the 3 up, you're still going to get that space, and Kerry do get the head up.
The thing about Clifford is, and we saw probably a little bit of it against Armagh, where McCambridge keeps him reasonably quiet in the first half. He thinks, get to half time now, and he's after kicking a point, but he's going to allow that. No, you probably didn't allow for Seán O'Shea to kick 10 points in the first half either. But then he just lights the place up. Yeah. It's like, so you don't really. You could keep him quiet for. You could. I don't say you will, but you could keep him quiet for long periods of the game, and he could still win the game for you. And that's the and the other thing, even at the weekend, he backs himself every time. Like I think he'd won 6 scored at half time, and he'd probably 1-2 left behind him, 1-3 left behind him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's frightening, isn't it?
Like the sun.
What would you do with him, Johnny? If you were Jim McGuinness, what would you actually? What would you have a plan? What plan would you have placed for him?
If we could get him into Kildare, I'd bring him over to Kildare and Stud and see if we could breed a few more of. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Like, obviously, you're gonna. It'll be interesting to see who's gonna pick him up. And you see, at times with the old rules, you could try get him going the other way. Even though some people would say, he won't do that either. He'll stay up and someone else will cover for him. But, it's nearly next to impossible. Like, you go to dog him, and he loves that.
Oh, he
loves
loves it.
the,
Yeah,
you
sure,
know,
he loves the rough and tumble.
he
as
loves,
well.
yeah, and he's well able to look after himself. And you know, if you want to go that way, I you know, so it's very, very difficult to know where you'd even start.
Because it's funny against in the quarter final, like, you know, say if you decided to play maybe a bit of a sweeper, or you know, you drop back early, but he seemed to just, and that was the Armagh game, he kind of stayed out in the corner a good bit, and I was kind of thinking, geez, no, but they were opening up holes in other places, and it was almost like then had him under control and start focusing on other areas, and then he just started coming in, taking ball.
Like, even Hamsey was going toe to toe when he was right up, and he just gets enough contact. He can spin off him, turn him, and next thing he kicked a point where he just left Hamsey for dead. And then there was another
went on the inside. Yeah.
Then there was another one. I think was Con Kilpatrick was giving him the bit of room. In other words, come at me now, and I'll slow you down. And Hamsey was maybe, or Con Kilpatrick, about maybe 2-3 meters away from him, 2 meters away from him, and he just turns on his left and kicks over the bar. And your man, so
No answer.
There's no, like, it's so.
Yeah, no,
whatever chance you have, you're going to have to try double up and try not allow him to get off that ball where you can force him the turnover. But that's very easy to say. And
First 30 seconds,
yeah.
both ear with a box. Hope to God you don't get caught. And Clifford can go.
Take the red card, but maybe he'll go off as well.
Yeah. Or drag him down until he gets sent off. But yeah, but look at, like, and I'm nervous even because it has the potential to be an unbelievable All-Ireland final. It has the potential to be one of the greatest games. But you're nervous talking it up too much in case it doesn't. But I think with the new rules, it has every chance to, because you know you have that space and time. So
yeah, and in fairness, Donegal have, like, they're not like a defensive. Obviously, I would say it's opened up, but like Michael Murphy back, like Oisín Gallen has showed in at times like how good he is. The runners they have, like Ryan McHugh and
Kieran Murphy,
just coming from deep there, like
Yeah.
Rory,
yeah.
like it can be any player. It's just
there's a two cornerbacks attack more than
and
anything.
Michael Langan is some footballer as
Yeah.
well, like to kick points
and
for again.
then you're looking at your bench, McBrearty, Jason McGee,
Like some subs to be bringing on.
Darrow Boyd.
I actually was looking at the interview with Jim McGuinness after the game, and I was just thinking it was mad. McBrearty was beside him, and I just thought to myself, is McBrearty captain this year? And actually looked it up. I was like it's maybe, let's say Brian Flanagan is using Kevin Feely for 20 minutes. Like, it's grand to say, oh yeah, sure, maybe that's what he wants to do, sure. And it's very hard for a captain, maybe if Feely said, all right, that's grand, I want to, just using that, say, as an example. Like, McBrearty is happy to do that job. He's coming on and he's playing class. How many captains of a team are happy to be an impact sub? Yeah, and maybe he'll start the final. Like, they have that luxury of power. But
yeah, well, I think that's like you look at what's Paddy. I don't think that's an issue because you're competing at the top level. And when you're competing at the top level, it's very, very, and you're winning games, it's very, very difficult to put your head up and say, I'm not happy here. Because if you're not, there's the door.
Yeah, that's what the team player. That's what McGuinness said. Like the team player, the ultimate.
Yeah,
team
but
player.
you look at all the great so-called impact subs, Kevin McMillan of Dublin, like. But he knows, and this is my job in a brilliant team, and I'm happy to do this in best of my ability. There's another lad, Killian Spillane. Like, Killian Spillane delivers every time he comes on the pitch.
He always gets
and does he? I don't know. I can't remember him too many times he started. Now you go down and to a club match or maybe a lower tier of counties. It could be a lad in the first year and he's not. I'm going back. I'm not getting game time. Do you know this sort of stuff?
Yeah. So
So it's a mentality thing. Now I do understand it's easier to have a mentality when things are winning. You know, when teams are winning, and look, I see it. We went on a run in with the intermediate, the Leinster intermediate. We 34 lads training, 34 lads in Animal training. You know, we could have matches and to have subs. You know, we don't have 34 lads training now. You know, so like it is a mentality thing that players, and maybe it's an automatic thing. Very hard for me to go in and Seán, manager, and saying, listen, sure, I want to be on the team, and you know, maybe giving out about Podge. That doesn't work that way when you're winning, because you've no. So
be gone.
I would put a lot of that down to the management too. Like obviously everyone knows McGuinness is very good mentally with the group and has him in a great place, and his psychology background as well. And it would be something that I would be listening to a lot above with us. Is that bigger picture stuff? Like this is like you need like that brother mentality. You need that person who's going to do a job for the team regardless of what it is like. And if you can get everyone in that mindset, it's a very strong thing. Like, and obviously Donegal have that in spades.
But you also have to be brave and ruthless. Like you look at what Jim McGuinness did with Kevin Cassidy, like unbelievably ruthless but unbelievably brave. Like they'd not won at that stage. There's a guy the year before was an all-star, one of your main men, and you can talk about team is first over anyone, but here's now a really tough decision where in Jim McGuinness's eyes Kevin Cassidy put him first ahead of the team. And he got rid of him.
But it's a funny one. Like there's
that's a winning mentality.
And he was right to.
But if they lost it, and he was right to whether they won or lost. That's my point.
Yeah.
But if they lost and didn't win that All Ireland in 12, Jim McGuinness would have been absolutely
lynched.
Lynched. But that's what I mean. He's brave, and you look at those type men. You have to be ruthless and brave.
Yeah, but like I always think like there's one thing say being brave in that, like say talk about McBrearty, and you can say maybe some players might say I'm not going to have that. Where who was over them? Declan Bonner done it before. He's probably not getting it, like, and maybe the rest of the lads are saying, "Geez, what are you doing?" Or like I'd say there's something there that goes in before that you have everyone on side to do it, if that makes sense. If things were going crap for Donegal, lads weren't interested. If another lad, Declan Bonner, dropped the top player, all the other players going, "What are you doing?"
That's the bigger picture stuff again, I think.
The bigger picture, Whereas you say when Jim McGuinness dropped Cassidy, there wasn't probably anyone saying, "What are you doing dropping him? We need him." They were saying, "Right, well, if he says it,
that's it.
We're not going to question him." In the simple, I suppose, you'd like to think that, and look, when he wins, as you say, it's a great call. But there's just whatever Jim McGuinness has, or there's just something there that he just really gets. That psychology.
He's probably built it over time as
well.
Oh
yeah, 100%.
He was with the 20s that time, and a lot of that group. Dublin beat them in it was under 21 actually at the time. I think it was the 20s when Michael Murphy. 21s, I think Michael Murphy hit the crossbar the last kick of the game, and they were beaten by Dublin. But so he brings that a group of them, and they know. This lad's not to be messed with, and so even the more senior players, they know. And like, there's a few examples of where lads didn't step up and they moved off. Gone.
And I'd say before he came back as well, like well, maybe I'm completely wrong here, but I would say the county board had probably met some senior players.
I think the players approached them,
and said, "What's needed here?" And maybe, and like they are obviously they've such talented players up there and loads of experience as well, that they would have said, "This is what we need. We need this ruthless man back involved. We need to know that everyone's going to be held accountable. There's no one safe." And this is the way it's going to be.
I think if they were going to his house and begging him to come back, I'd say he could have trained him at 3 o'clock in the morning, and lads would have said, "Well, we asked for this." So,
that's the thing. If you
you have them on side,
and they do, the players would deserve a lot of credit for whoever, and he's in the record of saying it, that they did knock on his door and come into his house. He has the meeting over his hand then. Because
he has the meeting over his hand.
What does this mean? Like, he'd be asking him, what do you want me to do here, lads? What are you willing to do? Where are you willing to go? Because I'll bring you to wherever you want to go. And then your conversations now become, like, I'm sure Paddy McBrearty was one of those that came through the door.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'd be 99% sure. So it's very difficult for, here's my philosophy, and Paddy very difficult for Paddy McBrearty to say, "Well, I should be starting."
He has.
That conversation is finished.
Exactly.
It's good.
Yeah. Kerry to win. After all that.
I suppose, Seán, obviously you've been laid up. You may have had a chance maybe to sit back and concentrate and watch the Lions games and the ongoings. I will put on what's the word I'm looking for on the record there, that you tipped Jamie Osborne as your wild card. He might have got selected first, but he's there now and he's a Lion. So, and obviously there's been lots of chopping and changing, and probably, look, I suppose it looked maybe like they weren't firing in all cylinders at the start, and obviously then the game against Australia and New Zealand combined there at the weekend, that was early in the day, so I was only in my first brewer at that stage. I watched that one, but look, they looked impressive, and
they're starting to get it now.
They're starting to get going. Just actually, even on that, like, you were on Lions tours, does it take that bit of time, like any sport? Sometimes, like, does it just happen that maybe you're playing with, if you're playing 6 and you have a 7 beside you, that you just have that chemistry straight away, where you could be playing it beside another lad and it's like, fuck, this isn't really working.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot? Or
I think it's more difficult for the lads that are there this time round than when we were there, because Gats would have had a very, very, very simple plan. Very simple plan where the Lions at the minute are really honing in on playing shape and a nice brand of rugby and a running rugby and exiting cleanly, but again, once they start attacking, it's about getting into shape first. And I think that's where it's taken a little bit of time. I thought in the Reds game you could see snippets of it as well, but last weekend it all clicked. Now mind you, that team that played last week on paper, the combined team, I would have said, geez, these lads are going to try and fuck up the Lions physically,
right.
Big team, physical lads in it. But sure, they must have been just on a jolly up, to be fair. They didn't offer really anything. But having said that, the Lions' shape and stuff it looked sharp. It looked like everyone was on the same page. They weren't forcing offloads like they were the previous 2 weeks. There's going to be a massive headache for them picking the team on Thursday. Massive headache. And there's going to be a lot of disappointed lads, and that'll be the trick of how they get over that disappointment very quickly. I remember myself, actually, after the first test in Australia, not being in the squad. I was 24th man, to make it worse. But I was full sure, even though Sam was captain, I was like, in my head I was like, he has to have me on the bench. I was fully convinced I was going to be on the bench, just the way I was playing out there. And then he didn't name me, and I remember going to week after the forwards coach, and I said to him, what's going on? And he said, I want a gin. He said, Gats made the call though. And I remember crying.
Yeah.
First time in my life crying. I was like, over selection. I was like, okay, when you want to see the way I train the next day, I ran amok, so I didn't train it. But I was like, it's
react in the right way.
Yeah, you have to react in the right way on those tours and move on very quickly. But there will be a lot of that this week, because, like, even just for the back row point of view, like, I think he'll pick Chesham or Ty Byrne at 6. Morgan at 7 and Jack Owen at 8, or Ben Earl, and then Josh will definitely be on the bench, maybe with Pollock. I think that's the way they're going to be looking at it. But like, then you're not thinking of Tom Curry or, you know what I mean?
You're leaving out,
like you're leaving out someone who's been unbelievable on the tour already. And then you're looking at the centre partnerships. I think that it'll be a Scottish centre partnership.
Think so?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play Bundy with Hugh Jones. I think he'll play Seán with Hugh Jones, because they just know each other so well.
Right, yeah.
And I'd say that on the flip side, they would if he was picking Bundy, he'd pick Gary.
Rose, yeah.
But Gary's out for 12 days anyway with concussion. But
yeah.
There's going to be a lot of combinations.
Would you've ever seen, Seán, like, I'd be very much, thinking rugby players are very professional and they do, but they're human as well. Would you have ever seen a situation like that where a big name was left out and they just didn't react well, like...
No. Just
distance themselves, or maybe a bit of a poor me attitude in train, or did you? I don't want you to name names, but
no, I haven't actually seen it. I'll be dead straight with you. I probably felt it in 2019 or 2018 Six Nations, or no, 2019 Six Nations, when I was literally finishing up. I knew I wasn't in favour of Joe anymore. I didn't. Not that I like. When I reflect back on it, I probably was in a bit of a mood in camp, because I was struggling with my hip big time. I was playing at the level, I was playing for snippets in games, like I could play. Like I'd be turning it on, but then I'd be struggling with pain, and then you could turn it on again for a few minutes. And I remember after camp one day, he said to me, oh, you're not in next week. And I said, all right. I said, so who's on the bench at me? I said. And he goes, no, you're not in at all. And I said to him, why? And anyway, he had said his reasons anyway, but I remember going back to the room and I was fucking seething. I was properly fired up. But then I calmed down anyway, and then trained really well the next day again, like, and but then he came to me about 2 days later and said, look, I don't like your attitude around the camp at the minute. And I was like, what attitude? I said, like, training. And he goes, no, not training, just in general. He said, going around, he said, you've seen a bit annoyed. And I said, but I am annoyed. I said, because I want to play, Joe. But again, looking back, was I annoyed around the place? I wasn't. I wouldn't have stayed around the team room too much anyway. I would have always been doing my own kind of thing, you know, after stuff like that. So, but then I was thinking, wonder, was it lads actually seeing me annoyed, even if I'm walking from the gym to back to the team room or something, and I'd be just pissed off. You know what I mean? Was that the right thing? And it probably wasn't the right thing. But I would have always said, don't let it affect you at training. But probably in that type of an environment, you can't let it affect you in the environment at all either. You need to, you know, just put on a brave face and get on with it. But that would have been the only time that I reflected on myself, that I probably should have been a bit more not as pissed off and let people see me being as pissed off. But I didn't let my training standards drop. But probably in the environment I was a little bit pissed off because I was struggling mentally at the time as well with the hip pain and not being picked, and it was all coming at me at one time.
It's funny, if you walked in laughing though, you'd have another lad saying, he doesn't seem to really care.
I know, it's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah,
because you would have been like, I remember O'Driscoll after he got dropped for that in that game for Jonathan Davies. I went up to his room afterwards and I was starting that game and I said, "Are you alright?" And he goes, "Yeah, it is what it is, but you want to see me the next day at training?" He was literally, honest to God, he was untouchable at training the next day. You'd be thinking, and the funny thing about it was, everyone that was training that day went, "How the fuck is this lad not on the team?" Like, he was ripping it up, like
mentality.
So well, it's going to be tough, and that's, I suppose, when you have 34 or 5 lads there now at the minute, and it's very competitive. You're going to have lads that are obviously chomping at the bit and annoyed that they're not going to be picked, but I just think with Faz's mentality and the group's mentality and what they've been saying from the start about the competition and stuff, I think they'll get on with it very quickly. I don't think there's anyone there that would be throwing their ties out of pram now, you know. The only one I would say that would be very disappointed and very unlucky, I'd say, would be Bundy now, if he's not involved at all. Like, do you pick Owen Farrell on the bench as your 10-12 cover with another back, or do you pick Bundy as 12 and move out someone else out to cover a back three position? Like, that's where Farrell is going to come in. He's going to cover your 10-12 area.
Covers a lot of areas and played well as well when he came on the other day. I know they're on top, like, but surely sharp. So
there's a few injuries there, but it'll still be an incredible test team, whoever.
Yeah, and I see his name escapes me now. As a Clarkson called over to
Thomas, or TC as we call him, but Thomas Clarkson, he's called up now. So he had a great, obviously, semi-final with us in the URC. Like, everyone was saying that, you know, he's young, obviously he's going to get punished now against the Bulls. Like, but like, he was.
It's funny, honestly, just on saying that when you spoke a few weeks ago, like, and you talked, you know, maybe a few weeks out from the lines, and you're saying, look, lads are going to come in and out of form. Like, John, you probably haven't heard of Clarkson before, or, you know, I hadn't heard of him until he was called up, as in watching from the outside. You know, the marquee names probably playing, and you'd be watching the semi-final finals. Where when he was called up, I was saying, "Jeez, I hadn't heard of that fella." But like, there you are saying, he came in and had a really good semi-final final. And now he's
puts himself, like, scrummage is unbelievable. Like, I think the penny has dropped with him. Like, he's a very young player, obviously, but the penny really did drop in those knockout games this year in the URC. Like, he's carrying, like, I showed clips of him. I was showing clips in my team meeting stuff, for instance, of him, like, dominating people, both sides of the ball, attack and defence. Like, he was properly whacking people. But no one, again, he would be an unfamiliar name at the minute. He will get better, but I would think because he would know the shape very well straight away. He will know the system very well. He would have played with the two hookers that will be on the test side. With Dan and Ron, probably. So there's loads of little bits like that where you're bringing in a prop, you want him to connect quickly and understand things quickly, and he's quite smart as well for a prop.
Was he with the Ireland squad in
Portugal?
So would that work? Would he get a phone call? Or Ireland
to get a phone call first, but he'd get Faz probably ring him himself first, but then he'd let the management know, and then they'd announce it in the team meeting up.
And he be on a plane then
Straight away.
first class, would it, or heading
I
to the
don't know
Lions
actually.
tour?
I'm not sure. Maybe on the singles you would be.
Head on
But
over.
he's it's exciting for them, and
It's
it's
exciting
exciting
for
for
him.
Jamie.
Yeah.
And there's
And
two of the
Jamie,
Scottish lads,
Naismith,
or three of the
yeah.
Scottish lads now as well, brought in as well. So exciting for all those kind of players that weren't involved for the first, let's say, 3-4 weeks.
Am I right in saying Jamie has 3 Ireland caps?
Yeah.
Like he's 3 Ireland caps,
Yeah,
so he's
yeah.
starting his career and
But I did fancy him as he covers everywhere, you see.
yeah. And will he have a chance of getting in?
I don't think he'll have a chance this week. I wouldn't say so myself, but I would say he will feature at some point.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Depending on how Blair Kinghorn is and Hugo goes.
In terms of opposition, like I suppose when you probably go, everyone probably consider, well, I suppose different teams are stronger, but New Zealand are always probably the maybe toughest place to go. Australia haven't probably been as strong in recent years as they have been. Joe Smith is out there now. Like a lot of people probably at the start were saying, sure, the Lions will go out and win it easy. What, I suppose if we're just looking at the first test, what do you expect Australia to bring? Do you expect the Lions to roll them over comfortably? Do you think it's going to be a battle?
I think it'll be a battle early on in the game. I think the Australian team will try and slow up the breakdown. That'll be a thing that Joe will have a big emphasis on, getting into the breakdown. Set piece, the Lions should have dominance there, I think. Australia can fire a few shots, but I just don't think Australia have the power to deal with what the Lions have. I just don't think they have the power to deal with it. So, don't get me wrong, it's going to be a test match, but I just think they'll run out of steam, and the Lions will take off. And if the Lions get momentum in that game, I can't see who's in the Australian team that's like a game changer as such. Like, they don't have a Pocock or a Hooper or any of these boys that I would class as like game changers. They can create something, they can do something massive in a big part of the game. Don't get me wrong, they're a talented bunch of players that Australia have, but I just think the Lions should have too much for them. Should have way too much all over the field for them. And if Finn Russell will be the 10. Like, if he gets his dander up at all with the players he has around him, like it has been the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks,
There's that bit of spark about him.
yeah, like they'll be very hard to stop.
Yeah. In terms of like pressure for a coach, like Farrell is going out there for the 3 tests. Like, would there be a lot of pressure on him? Obviously, he's the Lions coach, but like, he's going to go back to Ireland after.
Yeah.
It could be maybe that he's thinking, well, maybe I could be the Lions coach again. There probably would be a lot of, and I suppose, look, fair play to him. He didn't pick, like, it's his son. Like, it's mad. Everyone's talking about it, and then you always see all the crap about Asher. He eventually got picked. Picked the son. Like, he probably left him out. He could have easily picked him the first time. Like, Farrell is absolutely class, but it probably just another element of pressure that if they lose, it's like, should he pick the son?
I would
things.
say that if Australia were absolutely flying, there wouldn't be as big a pressure.
No, I would be thinking the same. But the expectation
actually is, and probably from themselves as well, to be fair to Faz, he's very like that. He expects a certain standard and a certain level, like. So, like, the expectation on his coaching team and the players is to go and win this series. So there is pressure there to go and win it. And the unknown, the little bit is the unknown of what Australia are going to bring. But to have a coach who is incredibly detailed, who knows the Irish players and system inside out. And that's what's going to be interesting the first 10 or 15 minutes, to see how Australia defend. That is, Australia's defence in the past 4 years has been shambolic, is the way I describe it.
Yeah.
You'd be looking at it going, these lads aren't international. How are they defending like this? Like, but I'd say they fixed that. Well, they want to fix it because they'll get blown away if not. But that's the only thing. Joe obviously is a very, very good, smart coach. He'll have a good plan, and it'll be up to the Lions to just, get over the top of it. Yeah, exactly.
I suppose quickly before we finish up, we're doing the highlight and low light of each week, whether it be sporting events or our own. Have any thoughts? I can start if you want.
Yeah, go on, sure. You're normally
Maybe highlight was in the airport on Friday morning going to Budapest. Low light was in the airport in Budapest on the morning coming home.
Could we see a before and after picture? Have you got? Could you do up something there?
I didn't look great either, to be honest with you.
No, I think there'd be a big happy head and you're going out.
The highlight was fairly high and the low was fairly low.
Well, look, it's sure for me, it's back to Kildare and winning the Tailteann Cup. That's what we wanted to do to get back playing, and I said the prize was huge. Outside of taking a bit of silverware, but you're back in the top end of the football where we want to be. I'm not going to say we deserve to be or should be, but we want to be, and the challenges that lie ahead. But I'm probably the low light, and I know there's probably a lot of people maybe around Kilcock and Johnstown Bridge and these places that would be saying affect them. They were at the top for long enough, but I did feel for Meath. I saw them against Galway. I thought they were really good, and they weren't 20 points behind Donegal. I think just things didn't come off for them. They were brave. They went for those big scores, and it just didn't come off for them. Now, that's it. I felt sorry for a day. That's it. I'm not sorry for them anymore. But you just it's a hard one. And exactly. So that's my highs and lows.
Highlight of the week would be probably Jack, actually, my young lad. He's saying tractor, perfect. So we were walking up the yard the other day.
Driving it next week.
We were walking up the yard the other day, and I was on the crutches. Next minute, Grandad, my father, was going out to the field to the cattle, and next minute all I heard was tractor. And I was like, "Come on, Jack!" So that was highlight. Low light, probably low light of the week. Low light is probably trying to get this skin under control now. This thing I have after the op, but yeah, that's irritating. So it is at times, but I'm getting there now. But that's probably my low light over the last few weeks. To be honest,
Not so bad. No, look, lads, thanks a million, Johnny. Thanks a million, Seán. It's good to see you after a few weeks out of action, and obviously hopefully that skin can clear up, and
we're back.
We're back in
Great
action.
to have you back.
This is All About the Game podcast in association with Clinched. You can download Clinched on Apple Store, and you can download this podcast wherever you get your podcast. Lads, thanks for joining, and we'll be back next week.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Sound Podge.
Cheers, lads.
Thanks, Podge.